Welcome back to A Moment in History. I'm Seth Udinsky. Have you ever wondered why we change our clocks twice a year? Well, if you're anything like me, you take great joy whenever that first week of November rolls around and you realize that you're about to gain an extra hour of sleep. Similarly, March comes and you're frustrated at losing that hour. Or maybe the opposite's true for you, that you love getting that extra daylight of spring and can't stand the long dark of winter that begins in November. Either way, daylight saving time is one of the most polarizing topics of the American calendar. But how did it come about and why do we still use it? Well, in this moment in history, let's discover the story of daylight saving time. For millennia, humans have had to navigate life around the rotation of the sun. Generally, the longer the light would last in the day, the more profitable a society would be. Less crime and other insidious activities, and more time in the day to work and harvest food. Several historical figures, including Benjamin Franklin, spoke of the luxury it would be to harness extra daylight. Well, in the early 20th century, Englishman William Willett wrote a small treatise called The Waste of Daylight, arguing for the wisdom in moving clocks forward between spring and fall so as to maximize the lengthened daylight in the summer. The idea did not catch on in England right away, but it did for Germany. Germany made daylight saving time the law of the land in 1916. Now, England, which remember was at this time at war with Germany as World War I was raging across Europe, did not want its enemy to gain an advantage that the extra daylight might give, and instituted its own daylight saving law later that same year. And World War I, as it turns out, is the reason why we observe daylight saving here in the United States. The U.S. instituted daylight saving beginning in 1918 to move the national clocks forward 1 hour in March and then return them to their standard time in November. This initial codifying of daylight actually only lasted a year before it was upended in 1919, thanks to a congressional vote superseding the ruling of President Woodrow Wilson. From this point until 1966, various regions in the country enacted various laws concerning clock changing. Finally, the U.S. government passed the Uniform Time Act in 1966, which set the national standard time from November to March and daylight saving time from April to October. Even today, however, some states, such as Arizona, believe the time change is downright silly and simply forego the semi-annual clock change. Thanks so much for joining me once again for A Moment in History.